They said I couldn't do it. I wasn't good enough, that I was too loud, too broken, and too much. So I made it my mission to prove them wrong. But what they didn't see was the pain behind the performance. In elementary school, I spent years in speech therapy because I couldn't pronounce my R's. I remember being pulled out of class to go to the special room, and even though it was meant to help, it made me feel different, like I didn't speak the same language as everyone else. And yet, even with that, I was always getting in trouble for talking too much, for being too loud, too expressive, always too much. I was the kid who couldn't sit still, who had too many questions, too many stories, and too much energy. And instead of being seen as curious or creative, I was labeled disruptive. I was taught early on that my voice could get me in trouble. That being too much meant I needed to shrink to fit in. And my voice, it was raspy, always has been. I got picked on it, teased for sounding different. In my younger days, I had a gap between my front teeth, too. It made me self conscious, like I had to hide my smile or explain it away. But even with the therapy, even with the effort to be quiet, smaller, more acceptable, I still felt like I was on the outside looking in. My friends were beautiful, confident, put together, and I felt like the odd one out. I didn't have as much money, all the name brand clothes, the perfect smile. I didn't feel like I belonged. I carried that feeling with me quietly, constantly, like a weight I couldn't name, but one I already knew how to hide. I was a daddy's girl through and through. My dad was my world, my hero, my best friend. We were inseparable. He was a Cajun coon-ass from Thibodaux, Louisiana, and in our world, beer wasn't just normal, it was culture. I used to call it Daddy's Coke. Budweiser was always in his hand, and I wanted to be just like him. So finally, when I was 12, I got my first daddy's drink. I was at the beach with my dad and older brother and was given my first ever mudslide. I felt like I was stepping into something sacred. But the buzz, that didn't come till I was about 14, right after eighth grade. Stepping into high school, it changed everything. I felt bold, funny, free. That feeling, I chased it for years. My daddy always told me I could do anything. I was Bobby Schwab's daughter, after all. But the world didn't always agree. I was constantly told I couldn't, I wouldn't, I shouldn't, and that lit a fire in me. I made it my mission to prove them wrong, but that mission came with a cost. The first buzz at 14 gave me something I didn't know I was missing: relief from the self doubt, the insecurity, the feeling of being less than. But it wasn't just about numbing, it was about fun. After a certain point in my life, drinking became the only way I knew how to have fun. I didn't go out to escape. I went out to feel alive, to laugh louder, dance harder, talk freely. Alcohol gave me permission to be the version of myself I couldn't access sober. I started hanging out with older kids, going to field parties, chasing the feeling of freedom, and it worked until it started to cost me more than it gave. The more I tried to prove I was strong, the more I lost sight of who I really was. I wasn't just drinking to celebrate anymore. I was drinking to survive the pressure, the pain, the constant need to prove myself. After high school, I fell into a relationship that looked like love and felt like war. I was loyal, faithful, all in, but he was abusive physically, emotionally, and mentally. He cheated, he lied, he choked, he stole, and then he told me I was the problem. That lit a fire in me. I can't stand being accused of something I didn't do. I had to defend myself, protect my name, and prove my truth. That fire, it was part of my rebellion. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that refuses to be erased. I started showing up at people's houses, at parties. I wasn't going to let anyone rewrite my story. I was going to make them see me. My last fight ended with a beer glass to the face, 4 inches of torn skin under my eye, and plastic surgery. But even then, I didn't stop. because I wasn't ready. I was still in the mud, still fighting, still trying to feel alive the only way I knew how. This wasn't the bloom, but it was part of the rebellion, the messy, painful, necessary part. For so long, my fuel was proving people wrong. Every time someone said I couldn't, I did. Every time they said I wouldn't, I made sure I did. I wore that defiance like an armor. But somewhere along the way, I started to realize I was exhausted. I had the stories, the wild nights, the scars, some visible, some not, and yet I still felt empty. I had spent so much time trying to prove I was strong that I never stopped to ask if I was okay. I thought success would fix it, that if I could just win the argument, the fight, the attention, I'd finally feel whole. But success without self worth, it's hollow. I remember looking in the mirror on so many days, not after big fights or big moments, just regular days thinking, is this it? Is this who I am? I didn't have the answers yet, and I wasn't ready to stop drinking, and I wasn't ready to let go of that fire. The truth is, I didn't start to see the cost of that mindset until after I got sober. It wasn't until I started doing real work, looking inward, working my steps, sitting with the uncomfortable truths, that I began to understand how deeply the need to prove myself had shaped me. I had built my identity around being misunderstood, underestimated, and unbreakable, but I hadn't built it around being whole. Sobriety gave me a clear lens. It helped me see not just my own pain, but the pain of others. I heard something once that hit me hard. We judge others by their actions and not their intentions, and we judge ourselves by our intentions and not our actions. And when I really sat with that, it hit me. That's exactly what I've been doing my whole life. When someone hurt me, I saw what they did. I felt betrayal, the disrespect, and the pain. I didn't stop to think why they did it or what they were carrying. I just saw their action and I judged it. But when I hurt someone, when I lashed out or spiraled or made a mess, I didn't look at what I did, just what I meant to do. I didn't mean to hurt them. I was just trying to protect myself. I was in pain. And while those things might be true, they didn't erase the impact. That's when I realized grace and accountability have to go hand in hand. If I want to be seen for my heart, I have to be willing to see others for theirs. If I want people to understand my intentions, I have to be willing to look deeper than their actions. That shift didn't happen overnight. It took sobriety, step work, and a little bit more time. It took sitting in rooms with people who had done things that they weren't proud of, but who were still worthy of love, and hearing their stories. And it took looking in the mirror and asking myself, what if I stopped defending my intentions and owning my impact? Oh, how things would change. That's when I started to grow. If there's one thing I've learned looking back, it's this. You can be strong and still be hurting. You can be high functioning and still be lost. You can be winning battles on the outside and still be at war with yourself on the inside. For a long time, I thought healing meant being untouchable. I thought it meant getting louder, tougher, and more impressive. But real healing, real growth, it's quiet, it's honest, it's humbling. It looks like pausing before reacting, sitting with discomfort instead of running from it, letting yourself be seen, not just for the hustle, but for the hurt. And most of all, it means doing things with the period, not for validation, not for attention, not to prove your worth. Doing it because it's who you are, because it's what feels right, because it honors your healing and not your hurt. Not watch me, but this is me, period. It means asking different questions, not how do I prove them wrong, but what was my part? What could have I done differently? Did I set expectations? because I shouldn't. I no longer do things for others as a transaction. I don't show up to be validated. I now show up because it's who I am. No strings, no scorekeeping, no conditions. And deep down, I always knew I wasn't broken. I was just buried beneath the weight of my own destructive thoughts. But the real me, she was always there, waiting to be seen, waiting to be heard, waiting to be loved by me. So, if you're in that place, that messy middle, the proving phase, the chaos, I see you. I've been you, or somewhere similar. In this podcast, this journey, well, it's not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about doing things with the period. So, no more explaining, no more overcompensating, no more proving. Just truth, just healing, and just you. If this podcast spoke to something inside you, if you ever felt buried, misunderstood, or like you had to prove your worth just to be seen, I want you to know you're not alone. Take a moment today, not to hustle, not to prove, but to pause. Ask yourself, what am I carrying that is not mine? Then, if you're ready, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Someone still in the mud. Someone still fighting to feel alive. Let's heal out loud, one thought at a time. Before we close, I want to leave you with something to sit with. This isn't just a podcast. For me, it's a space for reflection, for healing, for growth. So here's your invitation to dig a little deeper. I got you a journaling prompt. First, who told you you couldn't? And what did that make you believe about yourself? Now reflect. Think back to a time when you felt you needed to prove someone wrong. How did it shape your actions and decisions? And what did you learn from that experience? My motivational quote of the day, too. The version of me that drank was not weak. She was just doing her best with what she knew. Take your time with this, write it out, speak it out, feel it fully. This is how we begin to unlearn those lies and we reclaim our truth. Subscribe, leave a review, come back next week for episode 2. Why their doubt doesn't define you. We're just getting started. One step, one story, one thought at a time. And remember, this is our Muddy Magnolia Rebellion. Talk soon.